It's funny how I feel like I haven't done a lot of sewing, but then as I was gathering everything for this video, I realized I've actually made a lot of things this season. Something about the change to autumn weather has really made me feel like quilting. And I have made an entire queen-sized quilt before, so I know that that is something that takes a lot of time and effort. And much as I wanted to do some quilting, I did not feel like committing to making an entire quilt. So I ended up making this quilted tote bag. It's basically just made up of a bunch of triangles and then quilted with straight lines up and down. The inspiration came from a picture on Pinterest, and there's actually a blog tutorial for how to make this, so I'll link to it in the description in case you want to make one for yourself. Next, I have a knit project to share. This fall I knitted the Ingrid Sweater. It went really fast, and I think having the different texture sections made it really fun to work on because it really never gets monotonous. You're always changing up what you're doing, and it keeps it really fun and interesting. I've knit sweaters before that are done all in stockinette stitch, and I just find that it takes way longer to make those because I end up getting bored and just not having the same motivation to keep working on them. But because this sweater had all these kind of like benchmarks, it really chunked it up into sections and made it so that I could be like, okay, I'm gonna finish this much, I'm gonna finish this textured section today. Something about that worked really well for me. I definitely prefer knitting with interesting textures or lace patterns as opposed to just repetitive stockinette stitch. I made the smallest size in this sweater because I wanted it to be a bit more fitted, and then I added some extra length in the sleeves. I added a whole extra section, one above the bottom part of the sleeve, because the sleeves were just not going to be long enough otherwise. It turned out great. I'm really happy with it, and I wear it all the time. A very quick and very functional project was this pin cushion. I just made it out of some scrap quilting cotton in the form of a rectangle, and I made it to replace the pin cushion that I already had, which is this pin cushion, the pig. But I made the mistake of stuffing this with scrap fabric. Scrap fabric it makes great stuffing. It's a lot heavier than regular stuffing, which I thought would be a good idea, until I started actually sticking pins into it and realizing that if you use scrap fabric as stuffing, you're basically having to stick a pin through a whole bunch of layers of fabric. So this was like the hardest pin cushion to use, and it was a struggle to stick pins into it. Never mind, it just didn't really feel right stabbing a pig. But we had porcupine pig for a while with all sorts of pins sticking out, and now we have a proper pin cushion that is stuffed with good old polyester stuffing and works wonderfully. Very easy to stick pins in and out of. So I'm very happy that I made a replacement pin cushion, and it was the fastest, easiest project. Okay, so this is not the most exciting project, but another very useful one. I made this simple black shirt to wear underneath my knitted sweaters. The shirt that I was previously wearing underneath my sweaters was not quite high enough on the neckline, so I would get the kind of itchy sweater feeling touching my neck. So this is just a shirt to solve a problem. Here's the project that was the most fun. It is this tiered olive green dress made of viscose. I had this viscose fabric sitting in my stash for probably over 6 years. A long time ago, I had made a pair of shorts using this fabric, and I loved them. I wore them all the time. So I went back to the fabric store and I bought the remaining fabric that they had in case the shorts wore out eventually and I wanted to make another pair of them. I wore those shorts a lot, and then I ended up making a pair of shorts in linen, which it turned out, for me, I thought it was a much better type of fabric to use to make shorts. So I had this viscose that I no longer had any plans for, and it was just sitting on my shelf. Then I saw this picture on Pinterest and of course thought of the fabric because of the color, and I thought it would make a great weight of fabric for a dress like this. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I had about 2.5 meters of fabric and ended up using pretty much all of it. I traced a loose-fitting tank top that I had for the bodice of the dress, and the rest is made out of rectangles that get progressively wider as you go down. I love how it turned out. We had a really warm day in November, so I actually got the opportunity to wear this dress outside. The fact that I could comfortably wear a dress like this in November in Canada is alarming. But leaving that aside, it felt awesome. I love how flowy it is. I love the way the air could move through it, and it feels like it would be great for summer. So I'm very happy with the way this one turned out. Finally, I made this fun little squeeze pouch. The idea came out of the book Contemporary Patchwork. It has this metal thing in it, and when you squeeze it, it opens. Otherwise, the metal keeps it shut. Very fun to use. Almost forgot, another project out of that book, although I changed the size and made it a bit smaller. This tote bag with a drawstring and patchwork pocket. Very fun. I just followed the shape of my scraps for these ones and sewed it by hand. Curves, I think, are easier to sew by hand, and then the rest is done on a machine. Love it. Those are all the finished items I made this fall. I have 2 works in progress to share with you. One is these mittens. They look done. Technically they are done, but I'm planning on lining them, which is why I've classified them as a work in progress. I'm not sure about lining them. They already are kind of snug fitting, but I think I'm gonna try it. I think it would be nice to have a lining, and they'd probably be more warm. So I'm gonna take some stretch cotton fabric and use that to make a lining. If it doesn't work, I'll just take it out. Another work in progress is a pair of knitted socks. I've done one, partway through the other. I'm using yarn that I unraveled from a previous knitting project. The good thing about knitting, it's very easy to reuse materials. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I've been up to. Let me know in the comments what you're working on right now. I'd love to hear all about your sewing and or knitting projects. Bye!